Hello, my name is Jason. I'm here with my colleague Barry, and we're here to give you a lightning talk on how we're applying Eclipse Theia in our product. This is us, Barry and me. We've both been working with Software AG for a while, and specifically we work in the integration unit on the webMethods product line. So what we're talking about is our platform, which is called webMethods IO integration. And it's cloud-based. And if webMethods as a product has been around for more than 25 years as an on-premise product, but more and more it's moving to the cloud. And along with that, our tooling is moving from the desktop to the cloud. And as you can see in this diagram, we have a control plane, which is sort of the hub, which in itself connects to these integration servers, which are depicted as boxes here. And those can be on premise or they can be elsewhere, somewhere in the cloud. And until recently, our development tooling was desktop based, Eclipse primarily. But more and more our tooling is in cloud. And now we're going to show you how we use Eclipse Theia to develop what we call Java services. And a service is just an integration. An integration can be, for example, taking data from SAP and populating a relational database. So an integration that's developed in our tooling, whether it's developed in the cloud or on the desktop, can be deployed to a server in the cloud or on-premise and vice versa. So it's pretty flexible. And as I mentioned earlier, services coded in Java could only be coded using Eclipse or another desktop IDE, but that's changing now. And we've adopted Eclipse Theia to do that. And the reason we chose Theia was it stems from our base requirement, which was to provide a full-blown Java development environment, very comparable to what's available in desktop Eclipse. And we saw that using Theia, that it definitely had had a very rich web-based Java editor, and we felt confident enough that we could move it to the cloud. So we developed a Java extension, a Java service extension for Theia, which in turn depends on the Red Hat Java development plugin for the Java environment that we required. Another benefit of Theia is that provided a lot of functionality out of the box for us. A lot of the views, such as the list you see here, we were able to use as is. And when we needed to, we could extend and customize the outline view and some others, and you'll see that in the demo. A very important requirement for us was that it had to look and feel as the same as our other editors, our other tools. So we couldn't just take the straight Theia UI. However, we found that Theia was flexible enough that we could mold it to meet our requirement. Now we run currently in Kubernetes, and right now our Theia with our extension runs in one pod, and we have one pod per user. But we're looking at some other options to perhaps make that a little bit more efficient and to lower the footprint. Now, one of the other nice things about Theia was we have a somewhat different use of Git, where the Git is persisted from the integration server, not from the client. So we disabled the default Git support, and we were able to persist or use the Git on the back end, and that worked very nicely. So we started using Theia in October of 2021, and we're now on Theia 1.40, which is a couple of releases behind. We try wherever possible to keep current with Theia. So now what we're going to do is Barry's going to give a demo, and then so you'll see what we mean here.
Thank you, Jason. I'm going to begin by creating an integration project. This is our cloud-based IDE, and We'll just call this TheiaCon. Okay, now within my project, I can create different types of integrations. So I'm going to select the Java services, and I'm going to create a new Java service. There. Okay, so what's happening now is we're using an iframe within our cloud-based IDE to display our Theia extension. Um, the Java service code that you see here is loaded from the integration server, which, like Jason said, resides in another pod. And so it gets loaded in and it's displayed within the editor here. Um, now, as changes are made, as I modify code, or I could modify the signature for this service, um, and I hit save, these changes are going to get pushed back to integration server. I'm working, currently out of a Java class within my local Theia workspace. But when I do the save, not only does it save it in the workspace, it pushes it to IS. Um, Now, like Jason said, we had to customize the look and feel of Theia to look like our other editors. So as you can see up top here, we replaced the Theia main menu bar with our own custom toolbar. And here, based on what's selected in the outline view, like we said, we customized the outline view so that a Java service now has its own icon. And as I select things, select the Java service. A Java service is represented by a public static method here. So if I want to add a new one, okay, you see we get another one here in the outline view. And if I right click on this, there's various operations I could do with that, and each of these will get pushed to the IS as I perform things. Um, So, we had this requirement that the UI closely resemble these other editors, and we also removed the left and right columns, that had the icons for the various applications, and we took out the Explorer view, and we customized it so we only display these views that you see down here. And all we wanted the user to do in the editor was nothing but edit this Java service. So we got rid of all the editing tabs and made it so that that's all they could focus on here. We didn't want to overly complicate things for the user. Um, we created our own view of the reference libraries so that when the user drills down and selects a class, rather than open that class up here in the editor, we we open it in a split pane over here so that they could then see the class and understand the methods. So this is all we have time to show you today. This is the lightning version of our demo, and I'm going to turn it back over to Jason.
Okay, thanks, Barry. And we're just going to wrap it up with our experiences using Theia and Kubernetes. First, we found that we needed to create our own Docker file. At that time, and I think this is still true, there wasn't an out-of-the-box Docker file for us to use, but we did find some older ones in GitHub, and we were able to modify those to meet our needs. We discovered pretty quickly that WebSockets had to be there, that they're required. And unfortunately, the ingress in our cluster didn't support WebSockets by default. And we enabled that. Now, I know that the socket IO will, if WebSockets are not required, it will fall back to HTTP. And we saw that, but the performance wasn't as good as as we wanted it to be. So we made WebSockets work. Another thing we found is that the CPU and memory for the pod that was given to us was way not enough. Our pod contains not only Theia, but it also contains a JDK, a Java Development Kit 17. So once we bumped the resources for the pod, we started to get better performance. So right now it's at about 2 gig. Another thing that's important is for us and for our customers is security. Now, what we do is we use Aqua or a similar tool to scan for security vulnerabilities every time we build. And when we first got started, there were a lot of them, but we've noticed that the security issues has gone down in later Theia versions. So finally, I mentioned this maybe a little bit earlier, but we try to stay on the latest version of Theia. At one point, we weren't doing that, and migrating to a newer version was a lot more difficult. So we try to keep current, and that's I think that's some good advice. So that's our lightning presentation. Do you have any questions? Okay, well then, thank you.